We're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Village Radio Talk Show, where you are the persons that's most important to us. All right, our audience. So I want to thank you today for joining us um, live on the Village Radio Talk Show, where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. Um, Andre, it says we are connected to the Wi-Fi, right?
Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point. Starting from today, success. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
All right, a little bit of that. So, Dr. Brian, can you hear me out there in radio
I
land?
can hear you.
All
How
right, so,
are you?
all right, looks like we're doing a little bit better in terms of radio land. So much appreciated. Welcome again, and welcome, Dr. Bryant. Again, your favorite person asked me about you today while I was at chemo. You know, Dan said hello again.
Hi, Dan. How
All
are
right,
you?
all right. But Dan said that he needs to hear you a little bit more. He said, "Don't speak up enough." So hint, hint. Let me just tell you what Dan said. Dan was actually like you; he was a musician. Um, Real fast, just to know that this weekend is today starts Holy Thursday. That's up to all of our listeners who are Jewish. Welcome, Passover and everything that goes along with that, and the passage. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, they are celebrating their
Ramadan.
Ramadan, which I believe it concludes next week. So it's the first time in a very long time that all of the three major holidays, well, worldwide holidays, the major holy pieces fall around the same time. I'm not sure historically where that falls, but it's a very huge phenomenon to have all three at the same time. Today's word from the Christian Bible, John 11:25-26. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, even though they may be dead, they will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. So this is Resurrection Sunday reminding us that as long as we have our faith in Jesus Christ, and we take that through life, eternal, we will have eternal and everlasting life. So we all must believe in him and worship him and thank him for all that he has done for all of us. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you. Please do celebrate your Easter. We have an Easter hunt. I believe we have an Easter hunt. Let me see. I think, let me double check. Right here in Brooklyn, our council member, Farrah Lewis. I'm actually going to, let me see. I think she did send it to me. So let me just double check this. So anybody who can attend, to please make sure that you do show up and attend the event and enjoy the time.
When is it?
I believe it's Saturday. I want to double check the date. She actually sent me the email, and I'm just trying to
Yeah,
see.
go out there, support. Bring the kids. It's a safe, fun environment, and very exciting as a way to just enjoy the weather. That's first of all. We're having beautiful weather out here, but just enjoy the season. Yes, Easter's not about bunnies or anything, but it is a great way for families to get together and just to meet other people in the process.
Uh,
And guess what? The car show is also out.
oh yeah, I'm actually. I've never been.
Oh, really? Oh no. I am thinking of taking the little peoples on Sunday.
Oh, you want to go next week, and then we can
No,
go
this
together.
week.
Uh,
Either Saturday or Sunday. I
Said, do you want to
definitely
go?
want to go.
Do you want to go next week so we can go? I'll go with you, but I can't go this week. That's
Yeah.
right.
Next week I'll be in Pennsylvania. So,
Next weekend.
yeah, next Sunday.
Okay. All right. So can't
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in on Saturday for the Parent and Guardian Forum. It was phenomenal to have you join us and be a part of that experience. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in, for sharing your ideas, for sharing the video, for communicating back and forth with us. We are the village where we believe in empowering parents. We believe in empowering our community, and definitely education is number one to us. So something that cannot be taken for granted, where a lot of people die for education. So thank you. Hey, Jalen, tuning in from Florida. Thank you for joining us.
um, I was. It's very exciting. 164 viewers tune in
Yes.
to the parent workshop.
No, my friend. We had over 600 people who viewed.
No. I'm saying on the YouTube channel.
No, it's more than that.
It's more than that.
Hmm.
Oh, that is a
We
beautiful
had
thing. And
over altogether over 600 and plus viewers who actually tuned in to watch. So thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in, for joining
Andrew,
us. So
plug the sensors. Stays charged.
hello,
Um,
Mr. Sampson. Thank you for joining us in the studio, live and in person. What?
Thank you very much, Dr. Brian. It's always a pleasure to hear your voice on the radio, in the street, wherever it is. Roderick, it's always a pleasure to be in the presence of Mr. Daly, who I call the crown prince of gibberish.
you know,
God bless.
I do appreciate that. Right, I do appreciate that comment from our co-host, Dr. John L. Sampson. My friend for over 20 years.
Wait, you always call John doctor?
Yeah, do I call John? Yeah, John's actually a doctor.
No,
You don't know that?
did you always call John doctor?
No. But I think it's unfair for me to call Dr. Brian, and not Dr. Sampson, Dr. Sampson. So he is. So I have to acknowledge I'm surrounded by the presence of greatness, right? Two doctors sitting there. One have a doctor of law. One is a doctor of education. Actually, no. People always ask me, "What is your doctorate in?" So what exactly is your doctorate in, Dr. Brian?
I have leadership, educational leadership, which I did a double. So
So educational leadership was one. What's the second one? Private.
Both of them are educational leadership, looking at different views, and also focus on curriculum and instruction.
What was your dissertation on?
Top-down organizational change.
What's that in English?
Dr. Sampson, I hate when all these people speak and they use their lingo. What does top-down? We heard about top-down economics. What's top-down education?
Organizational change is when you have one decision maker comes to the top, but it impacts so many more than just the top. You know, when you're in a business, you have to think of all your stakeholders, and it's so important. The same with education. You know, change will not be made from the top. It needs to be made holistically.
That's interesting. Reaganomics, which was one of our most prosperous time outside of Bill Clinton, he believed in top-down economics. So he crossed unions. He didn't believe in unions, but he did believe in top-down economics, and it actually worked under Reagan to try to bring the economy back after Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
Right, because that was part of the reason why Jimmy Carter lost the election in 1980, along with that scandal over there that didn't bring the guy home in Saudi Arabia, or Iran, Iraq, I don't remember. Over 50 years, over 40 years.
But remember, education is totally different from economics.
I mean, that's not our topic today, but when you really think about it, I think the structure of the school, of the system, and if you have a leader who knows how to delegate and rule responsibly, right? Let's not use the word rule, govern responsibly. Top down can work, but no idea, John, works individually, right? True. So even though as long as you learn not to be a transactional leader, as opposed to a transformational leader, top down might not be a bad thing. But I get the point, because most times you have top-down leaders are transactional, not transformational, and I think that's what you're trying to avoid.
So I'm going to give you the exact title. Is a qualitative study of superintendent leadership experiences during a top-down organizational change. So that's the topic.
I was about to say that is a long topic.
Qualitative study of superintendent leadership experiences during a top-down organizational change.
Okay. So, is it published?
Yes, it is.
So how come, John, did you get a copy of her dissertation?
No, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Did I?
I emailed it to you.
Yes, I did.
I have the physical book, but I emailed it.
So why didn't you write your book and send it out there and publish it?
I have it.
So why did you sell the damn book?
You could go and purchase it.
You know what? Never mind.
Online.
No. You said that too dry. I didn't like that. No. John, that was too dry, right?
No, because you know what?
Yeah, my little sister. We're always fighting. You know, she just can't do something right. Happy Easter, Sophia. I'm not listening to you. I told you can sell the book, talk about the book. Talk about because it is important.
It's great because there's part 2 and part 3 that could be added to it. And actually, I had a couple of people who actually added to the body of work So
We
I
don't
would
care.
love to read
We
their
don't
own.
care anymore because I asked you a question. We don't care anymore.
That's not it. It's the book that I'm writing now that's more important right
Oh, please.
now.
So you're gonna do the same when the next book come out. Andrea, what did I say? Her favorite expression is on the radio.
What's that?
Moving right along. Next topic.
Moving right
Okay.
along.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I
That's fine.
can't laugh at him when my chest
It's
is
all
hurt.
good.
Nadine, you didn't hear me say my chest hurt. Nadine,
Did.
please do not comment, Nadine.
You see, God don't like ugly.
No. I need to actually, honestly, I need to go to the doctor, but I'm scared, to be very honest with everybody
Excuse
out there.
What?
Yeah, I need to go to the doctor. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I need to go, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
You're afraid of what?
Last time I went to the doctor, went to go visit, I went to the emergency room. They kept me for months. For weeks.
Okay, so
And then I caught COVID, and I don't know.
that happened a while ago, Roger.
Blessing.
I understand. And
Oh,
the next time I went to the doctor, you don't understand the scary stuff.
No, I
I
understand.
don't want to go. I really don't want to. But I am gonna go because I have no choice.
What about tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon? I'll take it myself.
No, I can't go tomorrow.
Mm.
I can't go tomorrow. I'm not going to go. But I am gonna go. I'm gonna have to go. So if anybody have any homeopathic medicine that
No, it means
Smoke
that
the ganja weed, baby.
I
Ganja
didn't say I was in pain. I said that. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go to the doctor. Of course, I said it's out loud on the radio, so I know my mother's and my father's like, what's wrong with you? But just some little bit of chest pain.
You're gonna have chest pains, but you're gonna have a lot of pain with DeSantis. What's up with Stormy Daniels? Got to pay Trump $122,000.
But she got to pay back.
My man, for legal fees in that case that she bought, or a case that she bought against Donald.
But before we get to that point, yet
You have to pay.
she got to pay back. Now I'm saying let's talk about the case first.
We don't talk about Donald case for it. Donald, he got indicted on 34 counts that deal with some sort of financial documents, fraud with respect to documents. We're trying to cover up a payment to two young ladies that supposedly he had engaged into an entanglement with.
Dude, you sound like Dr. right now. Don't talk about no entanglement. Don't say entanglement. What kind of entanglements?
The entanglement that he had with.
They're not no entanglement. He had an affair.
You had his former attorney, Mr. Cohen, and you also had the gentleman, Mr. Pecker, from National Enquirer. They too testified. They testified before the grand jury. My point is this. I met D.A. Bragg, and I'm quite sure D.A. Bragg feels that he has a solid case against this against the former president. But my biggest problem, ladies and gentlemen, is when the feds pass on an issue in which they had clear jurisdiction to do, they didn't do it. And now, which I think this might be more of a federal issue, but we seem to are weaponizing the states to bring cases. My problem is this: when you have a situation which it may not be criminal, but however you think that it should be criminal, at that point in time you can look and you can find some sort of statute to bring a possible indictment. This is what the feds have done, especially when it comes to politics and when it came to political contributions. And the best answer is we look at the former Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, an action in which the was brought by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the judge ruled that this was not a crime. There was no quid pro quo here, but the gentleman's life has been ruined and he had to step down from a position. My problem is there's a lot of discretion that these prosecutors have. And instead of erring on the side of caution, they rather just bring forth a case and let the chips fall where they may. That's not justice. But what's interesting is, I'm not saying that the prosecutor Bragg did an instance, because what's interesting is when Bragg initially saw the case, he felt that there was not enough there for him to bring an indictment. But now he feels that there's been additional evidence that he was able to capture. That's why he brought the indictment. indictment, and I can understand that, because he used his discretion when in the first instance and saw that there was nothing there, but he needed more. So I give the DA Braggs credit on that. But my thing is the allowing prosecutors who otherwise than that would not be a crime under state or federal law, the opposite prosecutor, meaning if it's a fed or it's a state, they can then bring these cases. And, who knows what can happen. Then,
John, one thing that I found to be interesting as well, in Brian Benjamin's case and a few others, I could think of so many others. Al Franken was another one.
Al Franken, yeah.
And there are a couple others. California was another one. I forgot the congressman's name a few years ago. Many years ago, probably about 18 years ago.
You need some air, man.
They forced Brian Benjamin, forced them to step down. The Democrats, right, forced them to step down.
And the Democrats are quick. The Democrats are quick to call for a person to leave
head, yeah.
office.
Yes, they're very quick.
Without understanding there is due process. But according to Democrats,
Andrew Cuomo is another one.
Cuomo's another one. They don't believe in due process. They only believe in due process when something happens to them.
No, he doesn't.
No. When it
I mean,
happens to them
you mean
personally,
personally,
they believe
okay.
in due process.
Right.
But they're the first one, even Andrew Cuomo at times, they're quick to, the person needs to resign, the person needs to resign, the person needs to resign.
It's the Democrats need to do a better job. I mean, the man, they brought a case against the man, right? They brought a case against the man. He raised $8 million. He raised $7 million in one day. Right? $7 million, and he's still the front runner for the Republican nominee.
If Trump wasn't such an if Trump wasn't such a nasty human being at times, there would be some sort of empathy for what he's going through, but that's not the case. However, what he has been talking about, we've been talking about for decades, the criminal justice system and the way it can manipulate its utilization in order to meet the result that they want. And we've been talking about this, the 2 tiers of justice for decades. And the volume is up, Mr. Dealing.
Yeah, it's very up.
It's very up. I can hear a lot of the feedback. Well, thank you for interrupting my train of thought. But the bottom line is this, my villagers, is that we all need to take part in the judicial system. Please, when you get those notices for jury duty, please, sir, so you can experience the wheels of justice and its operation
Or the lack of,
firsthand,
the bias of,
the bias,
yeah,
firsthand. That's all I ask you to. Please be involved. There's a lot of judicial candidates that come, and they always want us to vote for them. They seek our votes. We need to be more cognizant in inquiring about what are the issues and values that they stand on. And they can say, well, I can't really answer that question. Yeah, if you can't answer that question, you don't need to be on no bench. The bottom line, because they're the ones who are going to sit in judgment.
John, I hate when a judicial candidate, a jurist candidate make that statement. You know why I hate it?
Why?
I hate it because I need to know exactly like what you said. Are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Well,
No. What I'm saying is like what's going on in Wisconsin, right? Where they raised over $4 million for that statewide race.
Yeah.
You knew she was not afraid to say I'm pro-choice, right? Or that I believe that the cases vary. She did. I don't know if she remember if she said, but the Democrats knew that going in, that she was a candidate that more than likely will be voting in favor of pro-choice.
But you see,
You know-
Logic, I see that, but you know, a judge is supposed to do this, irrespective of the way I feel, my values. I look at the letter of the law,
Right.
and I make my determinations based upon the facts and the law. It may go against my values, however, I make it based upon the facts and based upon the law. Those judges who are we call judicial activism, you know, I have a problem with. You know, you have to look at what's going on in the world and the law, and based upon the facts, and times have changed. So if that's the case, then you really have to pay a close attention and see what's in the statute. I don't believe in being I shouldn't be able to determine whether a judge is going to vote on an abortion case, whether he's going to vote for me or against me. You know, we feel that if we have the same values, if the person, you know, is pro-choice. However, but if the law is the law, and villagers, I say this particularly in criminal cases, when you're dealing with these criminal statutes and stuff like that. You know, a lot of times some of these judges are very creative in order to deny motions and uphold convictions, instead of looking at the law and knowing that there's a loopholes in the law. And at that point in time, then you could use your experiences in a way that allows you to come to the result that you think is just and fair. But if you base the decision purely upon your values, then we have a problem, because your justice is not being impartial. That's just my thought, villagers.
You know, let's go back to something that you were talking about, that I said, let's give some people some background information. Now, actually, before I get to that, I have a question for you.
Dr. Brian, you need to join in.
Yeah,
You need to join in on this.
Okay. Wait, before anything, we gotta say thank you for everyone joining in. Rodney, Monet, thank you for tuning in.
Mo, what's up, Big Mo?
So thank you. I do want to acknowledge that.
Before I get to it, I just want to say, ask the question with the 34 counts, which, ladies and gentlemen, sounds like a lot, right? Sounds like a lot.
For each document that was submitted, that's what those counts represent.
Do you really think that? This is what I'm thinking. First of all, you know, they're throwing around numbers like 100 years jail time or whatever.
That's bull. You know what? That's another bull.
Yeah, I hate when they throw those things out
because they know it's not true. It's just somebody
to sell papers.
To sell papers. They get Trump. Give me a flipping break.
Yeah, he's not going to. Actually, I don't even think he's going to spend any time. Personally, I think he's going to get at most, if convicted, at most, I believe he'd get community service.
But you know what? In instance, everybody talked about, well, where is there's an underlying, there's another crime. It has to, in order for it to be a felony, it has to be another crime. The reason he did this, the reason the cover-up occurred is because there was another crime being committed. But the other crime has not been spelled out. Everybody's saying, oh, it's weak. No, villagers, what is going to happen, there's going to be a bill of particulars that they're going to ask for, in which they're going to ask the prosecution to spell out what the other crime is. So they eventually know, and that is the process and the procedures. The indictment is just basically putting you on notice that these crimes have been committed. But once you start doing motion practice, once you put the bill of particulars in, at that point in time, you're better able to ascertain exactly what the other crimes have been committed. And then, you know, the case goes forward. But my thing with the former president is the way he's railing against the judge and the prosecutors.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, that's uncalled for and creates an environment of hostility towards those individuals. And you have people who can act upon it.
Because, you know, I think he thinks that people don't have feelings. Before we bring our guest on, John,
He did the crime. He did it. He did it. He did it. You know why? He proved exactly he was part of the January 6th. This is the same rhetoric he did January 6th. He is guilty, guilty, guilty. I am so sick of the man. He's just using it as a way to make money. He's making money. He's bragging about the 10 millions of dollars he raised, putting a shirt that says that he went to jail when he didn't even take any picture. He is such a fraudster. I am sick of this man. I am tired of hearing about him.
I'm with you. You can be sick of the person, but at the same time,
the message is resonating.
The criminal justice system
Listen,
needs to be
I hope
impartial. It needs to be fair. That's all.
his accountant spilled the bean because I am so sick of him. And I'm ready for Pence to spill the beans on him.
Well, Mike Pence is not going to
end with him.
Mike Pence is not going to talk about it. Before we go to commercial, because I know we have a lot to do. Yeah, no. Before we go to I want to talk to John real fast about Stormy Daniels, because we don't want to lose that subject and we have to come back to that. You were explaining that Trump is suing her for legal fees for $122,000.
No. I think she was ordered to pay legal fees because I thought she brought an action in which she lost against Trump, and the court ruled that she has to pay his attorney's fees.
$122,000. So she got $130,000 in hush fee, right? She got $130,000 in hush fees, and then she has to turn around and pay $122,000. So
was it worth it? It wasn't worth it. It's a waste of time.
She got a net gain of, she has a net gain of negative because she has to pay the $122,000 and then pay her lawyer's fee, right, for going to court to fight this battle. So she got nothing out of it and she owes money.
Well, she's getting notoriety. The book is selling, so she's gonna have enough money to pay his attorney's fee.
All right. So back to our commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, so I want to thank you and say thank you to Single Parent University for being part of our program. Ladies and gentlemen, we're inviting you to be part of the Single Parent University, where they have open admissions year round. And you get an opportunity for personal development, mindful parenting, support seminar, financial management, nutrition, and wellness. And for all of my single parents out there who need help with childcare, because you can't come out because you need childcare, they'll be provided for free transportation, a social support hub for that group, that Dr. Bryant loved to talk about mental health, right? So that social support hub will provide some level of mental health to help you as a single parent, help your resume and cover letter writing to get that job, career exploration that is so important. So not just writing the resume, not just going through the cover letter, but making you try to fit you with a job that might be best for you. And legal assistance, we're applicable and we're able to reach out to 646-779-6767 or text SBU to 714-441. So just join in, talk to them, hear the concerns. Our guest is here. But before our guests come on, we want to get a little background information about our guest.
I'm Chris Banks, a lifelong
Internet
resident and community leader from East New York. One of.
All right, I think we might have to run it back a little bit later, maybe in the middle of our internet. Chris, we're having a little bit of internet issue today, so we're going to come back and bring them on.
Understandable.
All right, so we'll come back to it as soon as I see this Wi-Fi sign come off my screen. I'll just start interrupt you and let you know that we're going to bring it up.
You need the Wi-Fi. He's just saying that.
No, but it's at low, so I could see it saying low right here. So when it comes off the screen, it's probably better.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome. We're excited.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right.
As we started to see that you are running for something, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Well, my name is Chris Banks, and I'm running for the New York City Council in the 42nd Councilmanic District. which represents East New York, well, majority all East New York, portion of Canarsie, Brownsville, and East Flatbush, and Remsen Village, which is also a new portion of the district.
Okay. Yes. Remsen Village. It goes all the way up to Ralph Avenue now, right? Because you had a little piece of Remsen. It's not new, but you went a little further into Remsen.
We went a little further, right? It goes up to Remsen, goes a little further over Avenue A, Avenue B, and some of the 90s, past over Rockaway.
No, that side you were good. So Remsen in the 90s was always the 42nd. So I'm saying Remsen going west. I know it's new, it's very new. So I'm saying, do you go as far up as Kings Highway or you go as far up as Ralph Avenue?
Correct.
Right. So that it's one of those. I don't know if you have Mile 11 now in your district or still outside of your district.
I believe not. No, not that I'm from. No, not that I'm aware of. I know we have 66 is in the district.
Yeah, 66 was always in. Is on the.
It's
You
on
got
the.
66 now?
We
Because I
have
think that was
66.
Mercedes before. That was 46. I had
Well,
66.
And it may be
Rockaway by the 69 precinct. So you got the 69 precinct now in your district.
69 precinct is right in district.
Oh, okay. So it was in
66 over there by the Walmart supermarket.
Yeah. All right. So welcome to the village. So I hear that you're a Trinity boy. What's going on with that?
Yes, my mother is Trinidadian, born and raised in Trinidad. My father is from the South, and I was born here in Brooklyn, New York, at Kings County Hospital.
All right. That's very exciting. So I have to ask this question.
That's understandable.
Have you ever been to Carnival?
No, I've never been to Carnival.
Me neither. Maybe we need to take that trip next year together. What do you think?
Maybe so.
I've never been.
Well, you need to go and get checked out by the doctor before you could go and take a trip, I don't know.
Yeah, I am not feeling, Chris, we're going to ignore Dr. Mike. I'm not feeling all right.
No, I'm just laughing. I'm not going to give my opinion on that one.
We're going to ignore Dr.
Brother
Mike.
Rodney, what's up? Hey, Mr. Banks, like you said, bank on banks.
Yeah.
Chris, you know what? What have you been doing all these years? You have been very involved into the district for a long period of time. When I look at you, I look at the seniors, the way you really just really care for the seniors and really put forth an effort to make sure that one of our most vulnerable populations is taken care of, given the credit that the credit is due. So maybe you just want to, just tell the villagers, well, what has Chris Banks been doing for years in East New York and Canarsie and East Flatbush communities?
Well, since 2005, and I started my not-for-profit organization, which was an advocacy group for seniors. We provided housing assistance, recreational activities, and basically gave a voice to seniors throughout the East New York community to basically age independently. And that was the core, and that kind of helped me out with organizing with seniors. And then I was also a block association president right on Van Sicklen between New Lots and Hegeman, where I took on local issues that dealt with, there were quality of life issues with my block association. I served on the community board for about 12 years, Community Board 5, serving as the co-chair of the Transportation Committee, co-chair for the Aging Committee, and I was co-chair of the Public Safety Committee. I had left the community board in 2015. Then I actually became president for vice president for the 75th Precinct Community Council. And then I was also president for the 75th Precinct Council. And then I came back and I won the presidency back again. So now I'm currently the president of the 75th Precinct Community Council.
And, being that you're the precinct council, what has been your take on, we talk about the police and the necessary law enforcement, public safety that's going on in our community. What's your position on that? is are we talking about the Chris Banks and on the bandwagon of, let's defund, or are we talking about Chris Banks who understands that when it comes to public safety, especially in our communities, we always want to make sure that there is police presence in our community.
Well, I'll be upfront and honest with you because I'm a straight shooter and a straight talker. I have evolved. I was a big organizer during the George Floyd and movement, and I did a lot of organizing around that. Led a lot of protests, organized a lot of protests with quite a couple of groups here in New York City. And then after that, I came back. Well, I was already in my community, but I came back, became the president of the 75th Precinct Council, took some of the ideas from the protests and being an activist. And I said, well, listen, now we have to effectuate policy, change policy, and get in positions where we can push for reforms within the NYPD. And at the same time, reforms, police accountability, and also community accountability. So as a precinct council president, the posture of the council has not been a cheerleader posture, but has been a posture of holding the precinct and the commanding officer accountable, and also holding the community accountable to get so they can get engaged in this process of building this gap or bridging this gap between police and community. We need the police, but we don't need to be policed. And that's the issue. That's the issue that that's the delicate balance that we have to deal with. Because reality is that there's been a spike in low-level crimes. And in East New York, in the 75th Command, we're seeing it. My precinct council meetings, the attendance has skyrocketed. Well, before I became president, it used to be 50, maybe 40 folks that used to come. Now we're getting 100, 150, 200 folks that are coming out to the meetings, and they want the police. They want more police patrols. They want to see the police in the streets. There are issues that we have to deal with, but it has to be a working relationship with the NYPD, and not it can't come from a position of an occupying mentality, but a partner. And that's what my campaign has been about: building partnerships, building a coalition, so we can bring the resources and address concerning issues that are affecting the community.
And that's very important. Just want to say, Raw, thanks for listening, and Taj, as always, thanks. Monet, Rodney, thanks for listening, because it's important that you, our community, hears this. There needs to be a balance between community and police. We can't live without them, and we are a very law-abiding community.
Correct.
But at the same time, we just want to be able to have that relationship where we can eliminate if there's any abuse taking place. It can be rectified, it can be eradicated, and we can move forward. Because East New York is really East New York, and over there in Canarsie, where you have Brook Ellen houses, things are changing. They have been changing for years. But at the same time, there's an accountability that we as people in our community need to have. And it's good to understand that your evolution, because it's important, because people need to understand you got to call it as you see it. It's not about defunding. It's not about, it's all about making sure that we work in unison together to provide public safety that we all can be proud of.
Absolutely.
Well, let me say this, Samson, John. The defunding, or the reality is that defunding the police, obviously the narrative was co-opted,
right?
And the focus obviously should be on the approach to public safety,
right?
And that's what the focus should be. The NYPD can't do it by itself.
Not at all.
They need community. They need social services. There's mental health issues. So we need to build that in to this partnership. So we have to talk about it budgetarily, because the reality is that we need to get the NYPD to understand that there's also a part of their budget that they need to that needs to go towards supporting these social services that exist. We talk about also funding precinct councils. You have precinct councils who for years have never been funded. And we play a major role with helping to bridge this gap. So that's something that we've obviously proposed to the mayor, and he has said that he's looking to consider that.
You know, there are a number of questions that's going through, and I'm going to tackle the precinct council one, and then I have one. Actually, no, let me do it this way. One of the audience persons is asking, how comes there's an election this year? I thought it's supposed to be a 4-year term in the city council.
Reapportionment.
Right. So can you explain why there's an election in 2023 as opposed to 2025?
Well, due to the census and reapportionment, the lines we actually there was a population shift, and we actually lost a quote unquote, according to the census, a population. So the lines the legislature redrew the lines, and it was a domino effect. The city council had to redraw their lines. So what the new council that is coming in will now represent the new lines that have been proportioned out.
Okay, so every city council person has an election this year.
All council members have an election
right.
this year.
So I mean, I did explain to the person that it's now two 2-year terms and then a 4-year term. So my question is, so while at the doctor's today, I was sitting between 2 police officers. Both of them.
Sure you wasn't arrested?
No, I wasn't. Funny guys though, Ralph and Mark. And Ralph and Mark were telling me something about the 7-5 and the district and the incredible level of violence that is happening in the district. And you're on today. But here's the catch, right? Here's the catch. They both retired. One retired in 1988 and one retired in 1993. So one retired 30 years ago and one retired 35 years ago. And they're talking about the same problem 35 years later. What makes your city council run gonna provide a level of public safety better than what's happening in the district now?
Well, first of all, I'm going to recognize the fact that we need the NYPD, and we need to build a partnership between police and community. 2, I have been a strong advocate as the president of the precinct council, and this has been something that's been talked about for years, of splitting the command, of the 75th. The precinct, the population growth has grown tremendously on the more southern side of East New York, which is the Gateway area. And then pockets within the core parts of East New York on the 42nd Councilmanic District. And then we have so we've been talking about splitting the command. And also, too, I've said this, and I've said this many a times, we are considered the promotion precinct. The last 4 inspectors have all been promoted up to the highest ranks within the NYPD. Chief Madry is now the highest ranking uniform officer within the NYPD. Chief Shell is now chief of patrol. Second, you have Chief Barrera, who was there, who was also in the 7-5, was chief of housing, chief of LaPetri, who's another chief. They all have moved up. But we have seen that over the years, the 75th, the command has stayed the same. We're still high in everything. So what has happened is that, and I'm going to be straightforward, we have a system that promotes officers off of the backs of our poverty, off of the backs of our some of the dysfunction that takes place in our community. And we believe that's unfair. It does an injustice to our community. So what we've been calling for is a moratorium on this idea, one, that the 75th should be is a promotion precinct, and two, that we should have inspectors. The inspectors shouldn't be there for 2 years, then they get promoted, they go on. No, that they should have, knowing our command is the largest command probably in the city of New York. We're high on everything. We should have an inspector that should be at least for 5 years so they can do some systemic change within the 75th precinct. And boy, does it need systemic change from the lobby all the way to the jail cells.
You know, I'm going to disagree with the second part, with the first part, right? The second part. And the reason why I'm going to disagree is in order to have, okay, let me go back. Unless there, if like the 6-7 has the same issue, right? So a lot of the leaders, the commanding officers, all get promoted, right? You know, Chief Boyce was the head of detective. Chief Matthews, I think he would have some affiliation with that. Andrew Galata, who's another chief of detectives, Brooklyn South. So both precincts which have issues, have the same problem. But one of the issues is by taking this precinct on, the expectation is you're going to get an elevation. So in rank and in title. So I would go back and push back and say, instead of telling a person that you have 5 years, because now you're going to tell me I can't get promoted, can't get paid, can't pay my salary, can't increase whatever I need to do because I got to stay here for 5 years, is to say, if a promotional was coming to that officer, then a promotion is still given as you move up the rank. So maybe they should say, okay, if we're going to go with your 5 years, right, then it's not start looking and say, hey, I can become deputy inspector chief, one-star chief or whatever you understand what I'm saying? Instead of saying.
But Roger, I'm saying that it should be done off of merit. And there should be tangible changes in the command that we can point to. I love these chiefs. I've worked with all of them. Mm-hmm. But I cannot, living in East New York and living in the 42nd Council Mac District, I did not see any tangible changes since these inspectors have been promoted.
That means that they'll never move forward overall. That means that it's a failing precinct, period.
There's systemic issues. There are systemic issues.
But
so the question is, they have to make a dent. I would rather see a dent than no dent at all. Okay. And I think the community, a large percentage of the community agrees, because when we talk about this at precinct council meetings, and everyone is in agreement that there has to be, we can't just be a promotion precinct.
No, I agree with that, but I'm saying with the promotion, how it's going to be done. That's my own argument. I'm not disagreeing that they should stay in, because one of the things I fought for at my community board is to change the years that a person who is in power, is in office for, right? Because you're not really going to see any change if you can move somebody out in a year or two. There's really no change that you're going to see, because after 1 year, you know, whatever has started will re-change. But I'm also saying that we cannot force, because now you're going to have less people who are going to be willing to stay in the precinct if they can't move up. John, you had a question.
Sure.
Dr. Brian had a question.
So one of my concerns, I hear everything you're saying. I completely hear. My concern is about the prostitution that's going on. There's an increase of prostitution in your area. Correct. I'm going to church, and then I'm watching, you know, with my kids and everything, and you see naked people walking up the block, and I'm like, what? And Sunday, Saturday, after school, the same thing. There's no control on it. So what are some of your plans in helping with this?
Well, obviously, we got to arrest the Johns. You know, listen, I'm not, I'll be honest with you. Mm-hmm. There's some approaches that I think we can kind of mitigate or create corridors for where these sex workers can do what they do. But I think what we see and what's been happening is that that a lot of the folks that are doing the prostitution, they're just all over. There's no, I mean, listen, here in East New York at one time, prostitution was in one particular area, the back of White Castle, up Alabama, up Sheffield. You didn't see them coming across Pennsylvania Avenue. It was a certain amount of time that prostitution was done, and then it was cut off. Now it's all day.
All
You
day.
have the motel, Galaxy Motel, which they're now using now to do the prostitution in.
The
So
street all over. It's not even a motel. It's all over in the street, in public. Like kids are walking, and there's no regards at all. You
If I
know.
could just jump in on that.
Go ahead.
You
Go ahead,
have to look at the laws. They're not arrested because the DA is not prosecuted. So that's why you have seen it's been more prevalent.
well, John, I don't think the focus, right, and I agree with that. But the focus should obviously be going after the Johns, not going after the sex workers. To me, a lot of that is forced upon them, and that's something that obviously we've seen. We've had conversations with the inspector, because when you speak to community residents, they say, well, listen, go after the Johns, go after the guys who are over there, and you see them. Sometimes it's a crowd of them, and a lot of them don't even live in this community. A lot of them don't even live in. They come from out of state.
I hate to interrupt, but I disagree again.
Well, we can agree to disagree.
No. It's again, this is what I'm hearing, and this is one of the things why I think
It's not a one-side thing,
right.
right?
This is one of the reasons why we cannot cure drugs. We cannot cure any issues that have victims in it. You can't cure drugs by saying I'm going to arrest the users of the drugs, right? You have to be able to put things in place that stop the users of the drugs and the providers of the drugs. So if I know that as a person doing the prostitution, that there are no consequences for me or limited consequence for me, but there are consequences for the person who's going to utilize my services, I'm just going to try to sneak and get my services done. So we can't just look. I'm just saying that I'm a voter.
But Roderick, you have to look.
Hold on. Wait, hold on 1 second. I'm a voter in your district.
Right.
I have people in the districts that's going to vote, and I can tell you that up front. Right.
Gotcha.
So the voters in my district don't want to see the prostitutes. Right. They don't want to see them. So they're not watching while the prostitute is performing an activity. They watch while the prostitutes are standing on the street corner. So whatever the circumstances are, I'm going to use Dr. Bryant when you talk about mental health, whether there's a mental health issue, whether it's an abuse issue, whether it's a have no choice issue, whatever the issues are that lands that person, and it's both males and females, right? Because you have both type of people going out there now. You have, whatever the service.
You have younger kids too who are pulled into.
That's what I said. Do you have there's trafficking? So we don't know if these women are out here. So that's what I'm saying. It's a very, you can't approach it. It has to be comprehensive. But we have to look at the women that are being forced into this, which is a crime. Teenagers.
No, but again, my single issue, I don't care the why. I care the what. Right? So let's move to get the what, which is prostitution. Right? So when we pick up a young lady, we ask the questions.
Right.
Why are you here? If it's a conversation where Dr. Brian just said, where the person's underage, then you got to go after the pimp. And you provide some serious consequences on both levels.
Well, Roger, I'm not calling for a rigid approach. I'm calling for a comprehensive approach in dealing with it. And I'm just saying that we need to spend time. We need to go after the Johns. And yes, we need to provide social services to those situations where they're forced into these situations. And we need to look at that. Well, let me say this: there needs to be consequences on both levels.
All right,
listen. There is. Let me say this: there is no way I'm for some type of free for all where they can do what they want to do. And the reality, the reason why I was talking about a corridor is because I said, well, listen, that's something that we can introduce now, and then we can proceed with then cleaning up the area. Because the reality is that people that are taking their children to school, they're seeing a bunch of
And
stuff
church, and church
I mean,
on Sundays.
going to
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
I go to church. I go to church back there. I have a cousin who's a guidance counselor at PS 306, which is a block over from where the White Castle's at. There's a senior center right across the street, the Penn Workman
Absolutely.
Senior
Yes.
Center. There's a church. There's churches in there. So I mean, the reality is that we have to clean up back there. And I'm as your next city council person, I'm gonna make sure that we approach it comprehensively, and I'm gonna do what probably my opponent's not gonna do. We're gonna call for the NYPD, sit down with them, and work out a strategy.
All right. I love the fact that you said I love the fact, and John brought it up earlier as well, that there's a collaboration between NYPD community and our local leaders. Because
all hands on deck, like
Right,
Monet said.
yeah,
All
you,
hands on deck.
All hands on
you
deck.
can't curse the police if you're in the community. It's causing a problem, right? The police can't curse the community if they're not doing what they need to do to stop the community from complaining about them. And our leaders can't look back and say, "Hey, both of you fight," and then
Correct.
you're gonna come out winning in the end. So it's just very interesting. So talk to us. One of the questions that we like to ask is, tell us your 4 priorities, right? Tell us your 4 priorities, day 1 through day 700, and what's 365 times 2? Day 370, 770,
Well,
730.
there's quite a bit, but I'm gonna tell you my core. We want to deal with the oversaturation or proliferation of shelters in the district. That's something I've been fighting against.
Let me jump in on that right there. So, shelters are comprised of what's the makeup of those in the shelter?
The makeup it's
right?
people of color.
Right? And so, one, what are we going to do? Where do we want them to go? My thing is this. You know what? In order for shelters to be successful, we need to think about putting together organizations who can operate them and provide the wraparound services that give them the opportunity to go from being homeless to becoming not only having their own apartment, but becoming a homeowner by giving them the opportunity. We can't continue to shun, because we always say we got too many shelters. But at the same time, the question is, sometimes there's an opportunity that we can take care of our people who are in these shelters and talk to government about giving us those services that they need. And that needs to be our really focus and concentration. We need to be transformative in what we do in these shelters, because everybody thinks it's just people just coming there. We need to really have organizations who can go in there and actually transform these people, give them opportunity, give them hope.
John, I agree with you 100%. That's why I believe that the approach has to be comprehensive. We have to deal with the fact that sheltering shouldn't be about keeping poor people poor, and we need to destroy the model of it being a business. And that's just now, yes. And then we have to deal with the issue that we have a lot of non-for-profits that are running the shelters that are doing a terrible job. They don't provide a wraparound services. There's a shelter on my block that's run by Samaritan Village, and they're doing an atrocious job with providing services to the women. There's a 200-bed women's shelter. They're doing a terrible job. All they really do is provide them with shelter and probably some food. But they're not making these folks productive. So you have a revolving door where these folks are coming back into the shelter system, and nothing is being done.
So
now
I would recommend to you is, you should, this is what you do, and in your capacity now, you need to call those shelter operators in. You need to call them in. You'll need to have a meeting with them. And, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And if they're not providing the services that need to be provided, we then go to City Hall and say, hey, you need to move those providers out. We got our own providers. We create our own providers who are going to take care of those people in our communities. That's what we need to do.
Well,
That's just
and
my
I
recommendation.
and I agree. I agree with you on that, John. That's something that we have worked on. We've gotten on some of the advisory boards, but then we come to realize is that since it's such a big business, it's going to take me as the next city council person here to provide the oversight, to go after the non-for-profits, that to look at their RFPs, look at these contracts that are being procured and being released, see if they're delivering on their deliverables. A lot of them put deliverables in their RFPs, and they do not deliver what they're supposed to deliver to the residents. Now, on the side of the proliferation of shelters in the district, we lead. I think we're number 3 in the borough as far as the amount of shelters that exist. We want to look at the fair share clause, which basically states that facilities have to be equally distributed throughout all communities within the city. We can show that it's disproportionately different here in East New York on the 42nd Councilmanic District. We can look at other communities, like a community that mirrors East New York, right next to us. Howard Beach doesn't have one shelter in their community. So what we're saying is that we are a city that should take on the burden of providing shelter, because there, by the grace of God, any one of us can fall to the shelter system or become homeless. So we're saying that the burden needs to be shared, and East New York shouldn't be dumped on. We've done our fair share, and the fair share that we do have, we need to now look deep in them and see, are they really working? So we have to reimagine services to the home to our folks that fall
I agree
short.
with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that, because the thing is, with East New York, you what you find is more shelters, you find more prisons, you find more everything negative. And I'm not saying that the shelters are negative. It is a resource for people who actually need the help. But East New York should not be the area where you becomes a dumping ground.
So
It should be
I want to go
something
back. I want to go back, and I'm the realist on the show. I tell both of them.
What?
I'm the realist. The realist is
Whatever.
that
I'm full of shit. Go ahead.
that too.
That I agree with, John.
That's true. I would say something to that, but I got to be serious for a moment. A large number of people who are utilizing the shelters
Or
are people.
African American? Is that what you're gonna say? Or blacks?
A lot of people, the majority of people who are utilizing the shelters are people of color.
Mm-hmm.
So here are the groups of people who utilize shelters. A lot. Formerly incarcerated, people of color, blacks and Latino, people who go through domestic violence, primarily women, right? There are men.
People, don't forget, a lot of military people.
Again, I didn't finish, right? And the military. But of those 4 people, right, majority of blacks and brown and people from domestic violence, women who are escaping the areas that they're in, are going to utilize shelters. My issue is, I'm a white man. I live in an affluent community. The majority of people who are utilizing the shelter, they don't look like me. They're not from my neighborhood. Why should I say okay? That's one question.
Well, let me answer that.
I'm going to throw both questions out there. I'm going to throw both questions so you can answer both of them. The second one is, we have a proliferation of shelters. One, because of the lack of generational wealth, right? We don't do generational wealth. So a lot of our people don't have a place to stay because nothing was passed on. Sometimes we lose them, but they don't have a place to stay, so they're stuck on the street. What other things outside of shelters that would make living, whether it's through government subsidies whether it's through better, what's that thing called? Finance charges, John? What do you call it when you for the house, when after you pay with your mortgage, your finance charges, whatever they call it, right? The 3.9%, the 8 point stuff. Now it's at 7.5%. Interest rate. That's the word. Thank you. Better interest rate, or some years of moratorium on the interest rate, so they don't go up skyrocket to become more affordable. What other things can you provide to provide real affordable housing? So let's look at that. Those two comments.
Well, listen, this is very comprehensive, and I want to keep using that word because these issues are definitely convoluted, and it needs a multi-pronged approach. So when you talk about, well, let me say this: the Fair Share Clause it doesn't take in consideration color or anything. It just says that every community within the city of New York should have that institutions or facilities, public should be distributed equally. So we just want parity, basic, on how shelters are distributed throughout the city of New York. That we're not two cities, that we're one city, and we shouldn't be segregated on how shelters are being distributed. Now, when it comes to housing, we need to look at the fact that, the reality is that we need to look at the fact that we have vacancies within NYCHA. We have, we definitely need to end housing discrimination, because that's a big thing, because I know a lot of folks who are in the shelter system who get the FEPS voucher, and they can't get placed. They can't find housing. And there are landlords who are discriminating against poor folks. And there's some, they have some right to that to a degree, not to discriminate, but to be cautious on who they bring into their apartment, because we've seen situations where landlords who've gotten burnt from taking in a program and then having to have a year or two without being paid rent, because they either being fought in the court or the program is shut down because an inspection is done, or so forth and so forth. So we need to incentivize landlords. I think if a landlord is committed, and these are really more for the small landlords, not the 24 units, but the one family, the two families, the three family, the small mom and pop landlords. We need to give them incentives. And those incentives would be, if you are committed to stay in the program of a FEPS or any type of subsidy program to help out or prevent homelessness, what they should do, they should create a pool or a pot of money where landlords can dip into it, and they can use that money to do the proper repairs. So when a tenant does leave their apartment, they can fix it up, things of that nature. Landlords are getting burnt left and right. So I could understand, coming from a family of property owners who immigrate to this country. So that's something that we definitely need to look at. We can't have this mentality of we hate landlords or landlords are devils.
Say that again.
That to me is so self-destructive, and that's the posture of these political gentrifiers who want to come into our community and make it seem like landlords, when some of them are landlords. And you look back at their history, some of their background, some of their families are landlords, multi-billionaires and millionaires, but yet they want to come into our communities and tell us that we need to hate landlords and destroy the bedrock of the communities, of our community or my district. So we also have to look at, again, the vacancies that exist in NYCHA. And what I have always been a supporter of, and I have always pushed this idea, that the folks who are coming out the shelter system, we should transition them into public housing, into Section 9. And instead of allow the voucher to pay for NYCHA. And what we should do is that those folks, like here in East New York or in 42nd Councilman District, with the new housing stock that's coming in, we should allow those folks to apply through the lottery to get into those particular, the new housing stock that's coming into the community. And I think that would just go a long way with Wakana to help close this void that exists
But one
amongst
existing housing
homelessness.
stock that we have and we really need to continue to revamp is our New York City public housing.
Correct.
Boulevard, pink houses. We really need to make a concerted effort to just revamp them. And whatever space that we can utilize those spaces to create possibly new structures. You know, so like you said, this is a comprehensive way to transform East New York, which East New York has been going under constant transformation. I just want to see us, as you said, Chris, is we need to be more responsible and take charge of our own communities, you
Correct.
know, and we will get the result. We need to be an example. And when I talk about when I talk about the homeless shelters in our communities, I wish my goal would always be if we can create our own non-for-profits, and it is a business, and we can take that and create the business that we want to take care of those people by providing those services that they need. We need to be, like you said, we need to be able to police ourselves. We need to be able to take what has been created as businesses for others. Let us be the business owners and the persons who can provide those resources. Give us a shot at it. That's my thing.
Chris, you said something I thought was very, very important to look at landlords. New York City has one of the toughest eviction laws.
Oh, yes.
Right? And as a landlord, you don't want to take those chances, right?
Right.
You're still going to get screwed no matter which way you go. But it's like there's a safety net that you feel, even though it's real or unreal. You feel that by renting out your apartment to somebody who works, it's better. They're going to take better care of your apartment. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And and one of the things that when I talk to a lot of small landlord owners who are really the ones on a larger level who provide campaign, get out and vote, get out and this attitude. They're always looking for this relief from the government. I maybe it's a little premature to think that you're going to be able to say, hey, let's look at the reform, help to reform the laws to make it easier for landlords to evict deadbeat tenants. I mean, I just mentioned that mortgage is what, 7 or whatever the number is, 7% interest rate. Somebody got the city will force a landlord to lose their home before they will evict a tenant. So whether it's through subsidies to say, hey, let me help you out because the court is not going to do it, or something of the sort, because that's one of my biggest complaints that I get from a lot of our listeners out there about the lack of support that they need.
Listen, I think we can craft a piece of legislation on this. Well, most likely, I think it would probably have to come on a state level with support from the council to have a bill that is friendly to landlords. And we're talking about small mom and pop landlords. So we classify them and have the bill, carved out so it helps them, because the reality is that the bedrock of our communities are small mom and pop landlords, 2 family, 3 families, maybe 4 families.
Yes.
Yeah. So
right.
that's that, and let me also say this too, for those folks who want to also get more of my policy positions on housing, you can go on www.votechrisbanks.com and you can see all my housing policies when it comes to affordable housing, how to fix the lottery system, and also too how to deal with NYCHA public housing.
Because you ran before.
Correct.
And what's going to be different this time that you feel that you can be successful? What's your approach this time as compared to what have you learned from those approaches in the past that you are going to change or utilize to this time around?
Well, first, I'm building a coalition, a broader coalition of speaking to everyone who's disenfranchised, who's frustrated with the lack there of leadership in the community, especially from the council level. I'm building the partnerships with uh, Senator Roxanne Prasad, Assemblywoman Nikki Lucas, and Congressman Jeffries, so we can build this vertical coalition, so we can address these convoluted issues that affect our community, whether it's NYCHA. We know we need HUD involved. We know we need federal assistance. So that we have a great working relationship with Congressman Jeffries. My opponent doesn't. He doesn't work with anybody. Sometimes I question even if he works for himself. But we also are knocking on doors. We're doing something that I didn't do too much in the past, but during the petition process, I probably knocked on about 2,000 to 3,000 doors. And we're doing good raising money. We're leading in fundraising throughout everybody that's in the race. And we have a professional campaign. I have a professional campaign manager, Michael Lambert, who was a campaign manager for Nikki Lucas in the special, who knows the district very well, and who also has run 2 judges in the 7th Judicial District, which represents our particular community, which we've got 2 victories in. So we're taking a very serious approach to this campaign, and I have the energy. We know there's a hunger for change, and we know that there is a fatigue in the district from the leadership that exists. And we're building a great coalition.
I think, you know, that's all well. That's all good and well. I just think, you know, from what I've learned is you just gotta go out and just be yourself. And, you know, I can compliment my opponent for what he has done. And at the same time, just, you know, you know what? Just a new vision, just a new direction. I want to be more innovative in what I do and things like that. It's great. You know, my opponent has done what he has done. Dear, I'll give credit where credit is due. But I just want to take it to another level at this point in time. And
coming in a new direction.
you know, not even a new direction, but I just want to take it to another. I want to build upon. I just want to exponentially just take it to another level. I'm the young blood. I'm the new breed. I've been around. I know. I've learned. I've lost. I've learned, and I understand what I have to be. I need to be the embodiment of the entire community.
Correct.
So therefore, I'm going to listen. I'm going to learn from those who have been in power, give them credit for what they have done, and say, you know what? We want to thank you for all you have done, but now I just want to take it to another level.
Well, and I'll say this to you, John. We don't. You know, the reality is that we do. There are some stuff that the district has changed in some ways. We don't deny that, but we have to point out. We have to make a contrast. And I think when you speak to the voters, they're more frustrated with what's going on. So we have to let them know what we will do different. And when we've knocked on doors, and like if we're knocking on doors in Jefferson and Gorman, or in Meadowwood, or in Starrett City, or in Penn Workman, in Penn Workman, or Linden Houses, or throughout the developments, folks are frustrated. And the last thing they want to hear me talk about is, oh, I'm building upon what is there. What they want to hear is what I'm going to do different, how I'm going to make their lives better. And they want to hit what they really want to hear is that, and I'm hearing this a lot. Are you going to work with the other electeds? And that's something I don't think I can say I can build upon from my opponent because he hasn't
No,
worked with
I hear
anybody.
that.
So
I see, but you know, it's put it this way. It's just like, you know, you're going against an incumbent, right? And remember, there's always a primary, and it's like it's like if you look at Trump, right, and his campaign for the Republican primary, you know, he has an entrenched, you know, he has a base, a certain percentage that he's guaranteed. You know, my question to you is, how can we, what is new, you can grab, right?
right,
But
who's disgruntled?
who's disgruntled, you can grab. But how can you take those who may be complacent, oh, don't want it, because you always say the incumbent. How can we capture, how can we grab them? How can we grab just a small percentage to
Yeah.
add on to what I
That's
need to take? Because we know people have run against the council member, you know, run against them, but he has that core following, you know, and how can you break from that in order to be successful? Because you're going to need it in order to be successful to take you, and because there will not be enough unless you register those new voters that are coming in to take you over the top. But like you said, you got to grab some. And what I say is, you know what people, all this negative, you know, build upon. Okay, fine. There's a couple things. Hey, they're great. Fine. There's things that you were lacking into. We're moving on. My whole point to you is what I'm saying is you need to be above here. Everybody, you know, let me finish my brother. You need to be above here, and you have the ability to be above there. You know what I'm saying? You have the ability, the charisma to just, you know what? I ain't got to get in the weeds. It's just like for some of our, you know, when you run, I'm going to give credit where credit's due, but I'm just going to do something just a little bit different, and that's all. I ain't going to get into the, no. I'm going to be. This is Chris Banks.
right.
And you're saying you're going to bank on Banks, and this is what Banks is going to do. You know,
Well, Joe, I haven't got. I'll be honest with you. I haven't gotten into the weeds, and I don't plan on getting into the weeds. What I have
because you know
basically
we're
done.
going to bait you into getting in the weeds. You know
He
that.
Charles will councilman will probably try to debate me, but you know I'm gonna take a page from a mentor of mine, Congressman Jeffries, and that's to be calm and laser focused and to and not sweat and
Yeah.
and continue to articulate a vision that builds a broader camp, a big coalition, and I think the district is it has warmed up to that. There's a hunger for change in the community, and we've seen that. That's why we're building a coalition throughout East New York, whether it's the core East New York, even with folks, communities in East New York or the 42nd Councilman District who are disenfranchised, who probably won't even vote for my opponent. But I just have to make a credible case to them that I'm the alternative, the credible alternative to what we've had. And I think it's as we continue to knock on doors and engage folks, and that's something that my opponent is not doing. Uh, as we do that, we engage folks. We even convert folks over.
So Chris, I
Because
got to interrupt you for 1 minute. We want to just run that commercial for you first, and then I have a question that I want to ask you before we conclude. You ready, Andre?
I'm Chris Banks, a lifelong
So,
resident and community leader from East New York. One out
seems like it freezes in the same spot.
Can't really do nothing about it.
of many communities in Brooklyn's 42nd Council District.
It's freezing in the same spot, Chris. I'm not sure why.
it's all right. It's all right.
So we're gonna try to see if we could maybe.
And I'm running to represent you in the New York City Council.
I'm not sure why it's freezing. Mike, I want to touch on what John said, right? For Councilmember Barron, you're going to have those voters who are the 33% of the voters who, once they hear the name, he got the vote. You're going to have the next set of voters who are going to vote for him because somebody told them to, whether or not they agree with him or don't agree with him. Then you can have the other 33% of voters, which John is talking about, where you're trying to get 2/3 of those voters who know who Charles is, who have voted for Charles before, but they're not happy with him. And they're willing to bank on the new guy because the new guy is telling them something that is going to hit the core. So it's not really, I don't agree that you shouldn't be talking about that. You should be talking about what makes you better and different, right, from the guy that you voted for since 2021. I mean, since 2001, he and his wife, right? So that's 22 years, John, that I've been voting for this family, Barron. The other thing that you need to know when you're running is that you're going to have people going to vote for you just because they're going to vote against Charles, right? And when somebody else is running against you, they're going to vote for that person too, right? So
But Roger, you got to keep. I think what the presumption is being made is that I have a base in the district.
No, I was about to say that.
Let me finish. I have a base. I have a base in the district. I've ran for office. This will be my third time running for public office. I'm a part of an organization that has beat the Barons for the assembly. We beat them for county committee. We've got me, myself, Nikki Lucas. We organized, got over 120 something people engaged to win back county committee. Charles only had 28 people. We destroyed him at the polls for that. We beat him consistently to win back all judicial delegates. We took back the female leadership. So we have beaten the Barons and their machine. So we know what it is and what we have to do to win. Every time I've run in the past, I've gotten anywhere between 22 to 2,800, or a little under 3,000 votes. So there's a base that already exists. We believe that there's enough within the universe that's there to capture those new areas in the new parts of the district. And then in those disinfected areas where we haven't went to those voters. Because most of the times, what I've done in the past, I've just focused on my base and I failed. I've always pulled out my base, 2,000, 2,500, 2,700 votes. When I lost to Inez in 2012, I lost by 300 votes. I mean, when I lost in the 2013 in the council race, I lost by a couple of hundred votes. So we just have to pinpoint where those couple of hundred votes and go in there. And that's why our campaign is more laser focused. And we're attacking this with a scalpel and saying, well, these are the areas we're going to knock on doors. We need to pull this amount of votes from this ED. We need to pull X amount of votes for this ED. And the best person, we will have a canvas that's going to kick off very soon. But I myself, I'm going to be knocking in those areas where I lost, and I'm going to be knocking in those areas, those new areas. And, I have the energy and the time. I'm not in this to lose. I'm in this to win.
And I'm going to share your screen. I'm going to share your video again.
I love this community. I care for this community.
That's still not going.
Huh? Let me start from the beginning. I'm going to start again. We're going to aim.
I'm Chris Banks, a life.
Everybody's internet.
It's Chris, it's frozen on your end too, right?
Yeah, it's frozen on my end too. Yeah.
Do you want to try? Do you have it on your computer?
Long resident and community leader from East New York.
Do you have it on? Dr. Brian, pause it.
Okay.
Do you have it on your computer? Chris?
I have it, but I'm gonna have to go into a couple of files. And
It's one of many communities in Brooklyn's 42nd county.
Yeah, it's not working. So I'm wondering if it would play better since you have. Is it on YouTube, Chris?
It is on YouTube.
Under what? Maybe we could do it that way because the
You
YouTube.
can hold on. Let me see what it's under YouTube
Council
at. Hold
district.
on.
And I'm
Have
running to rep.
have Michael
Or
call.
or
Have
you can
Michael.
go. You can go on my website. It's on the
The
website.
YouTube is better. Have Michael call Andre and then walk him through it so we could do it real quick for you. All
Yeah,
right.
Michael, call Andre. I think Michael's looking. He's obviously looking at
All right. So let me just call Andre on the phone.
cast.
All right. Cool. So I think that 300 votes is what John and I are talking about. By the way, that bottom third off the Barron's machine, right? That's what we're talking about. So you know you bought your base. You have to obviously you have to get out your base, right?
We have to get out the base, and then we also too. There's and I don't want to go into too much strategy, but we do have a Russian Jewish community that's in the district that he can't even touch, that we really haven't invested in over the years. But I picked up support over the last 2-3 years of working with Rabbi Heck, Rabbi Jermaine, and we are definitely doing some things to pull out the vote in that community. And it's about 1,000 or 1,200 or a little over 1,500 of them who are based in Sarah City. And I don't want to go too much into strategy, but these are communities he can't go into because we are about building a coalition. We're about building a broad tent and going after those disaffected folks and those folks who are frustrated and don't get the representation from him because he's just stuck in the core of the district. And also, we have a Bangladeshi portion of the district that has come out and is working for it's helping out my campaign, and they're serious about electing someone that's going to support them.
You know,
I'm gonna go back.
That
What Monet has says. Your approach is all hands on deck. You're representing the community. You're representing everyone collectively. You're working in partnership, and in order to make change, it requires all hands on deck. That's what I'm getting
Correct.
Correct. So we were talking about your top four. You spoke about housing, and obviously that was a core issue with John, with Dr. Sampson on the show when we look at how that shelter was. But we didn't get to 2, 3, and 4. So quickly tell us what 2, 3, and 4 are. So we're going to give it about a minute or two to tell us about 2, 3, and 4.
Well, we also we talked about housing, which that segue, I guess we talked about the shelter issue. Public safety is going to be an issue, and I think a lady talked a little about that, some of the advocacy and some of the things I'm going to do working with PD on that. We also want to talk about home ownership, and we want to push the idea of home ownership. So obviously, I'm going to push and support projects that push for more mixed income housing. We also want to look at the fact that we need to deal with the issue of the new housing stock that it has come into the community and going after the lottery system that, again, as I had said in an early conversation I had with you all about the fact that folks in East New York are not benefiting from the new housing stock that is coming into East New York. And that has been a major issue when folks see all these brand new buildings that are popping up, but yet they can't get, they either get it, they are basically getting discriminated against per se, or they're not getting into the lottery's not picking them, or they're getting picked, or they're being disqualified. So that's something that we definitely want to look at. We know that that's a HUD issue, and we want to work along with the congressman and also on the state level, Nikki Lucas and the senator, to see how we can get that change.
All right. So I want to talk about education and youth when we come back. Let's try it one more time. If we failed, then we have failed. Let's try it. Andres, if it's ready.
I'm Chris Banks, a lifelong resident and community leader from East New York, one of many communities in Brooklyn's 42nd Council District. And I'm running to represent you in the New York City Council. I love this community, I care for this community, and I have a vision for the future of our community. As I have always done, I will fight for the community we
Almost.
served for so long.
I love that commercial, by the way, and I love the hat.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Get the idea, get an opportunity to remind people to come out to the show to see some of the things to talk about. I want to talk about education. District 23 uh, is notorious, like the 75th precinct, for having very poor schools overall. Not all. Obviously, no district have all bad schools. It's not true, but it has been notorious for having not good schools. What is what is your push on education, youth leadership, to try to promote quality education, cut down the level of violence that happen amongst our youth, the killings, to this, and as a channel through education? Both Dr. Bryant and myself, I've been a former school administrator. She was also a school administrator, teacher, literacy coach in the districts, taught in the district, and understand the value there. Talk to us about what are your
Well,
plans on education and youth development.
well, first we got to support our principals. We got to support our teachers. We need to invest in our education system, and also too, we need to look at some alternatives that are there. The
I like
reality is
that. I
that
like that. I like that alternatives.
we
So we
need to
talk
look
about
at
charter schools.
well, we need to look at alternatives. In my district, we have a
They don't want to hear
strong.
that. They don't want to hear that, Chris. Charter schools, educators
No,
don't
well,
want to hear that.
I didn't say anything about charter schools, but since you brought up charter schools, John, we do have two charters. We have a couple of standalone charter schools in the district. The St. Paul's Community Baptist Church is a prominent church. Imagine me, a 200 boys charter school. We have A.R. Bernard has a charter school in the district. Cultural, I forget the exact name, but it's a prominent charter school doing great, amazing things.
Cultural
Uh,
Academy.
we Culture Academy. We have Camper, which is a standalone charter school. They were on the Bethlehem, where the old Bethlehem Academy used to be on the Trey Riffle. So I'm strongly against any co-locations of charter schools and school buildings. That to me just sets us up for a dangerous path. It destroys the education experience for young folks in our schools. And again, coming from having family members who work in DOE, supporting, using my capital, my discretionary monies to support programs, still STEM programs, more after school programs. We have to reimagine after school. I remember growing up, I was a product of the Beacon program under Bernard Waiters and IS 166, and also Night Center, which under Jocko, who used to be in Gersh when he started out. So
Yes.
these were
God rest his
basic
soul,
things. Yeah, these were basic things that kept me off the streets. So and we just gotta meet. We gotta meet these kids, these young students, and these children where they're at. And we got to support our parents. We need to have wraparound services for our parents. And I think that's how those are the fundamentals, I think, in East New York that we really need. And that's what I'm going to really focus on. I'm not going to, my posture is not going to be dictating to principals on what I think they need. I'm going to say, what is it you need to assist you so we can educate these kids, these children, and make them productive and get them so either they can go to a trade school or they can go to traditional academic, go through the traditional academia route. Give them options, because we know across the board we've seen that there's definitely a decrease on the trade side where there's a need for folks to use their hands in trade and I mean buildings and construction and stuff like that. So again, I have a comprehensive approach in addressing the educational needs in our district, and I'm going to do just that when I become the next city council person.
And just I guess pretty much trying to sum it up, Chris, is for you, the difference in what you can bring that could elevate East New York to me is a very powerful community. People can say what they can say about the community, but we have a lot of people who have been very successful who have come out of East New York, and a lot of those who are still there in East New York. Businesses are thriving, economic opportunities, and East New York is not all that bad from what people try to describe at times. And you are a product of East New York, and there's a lot of other people who have been very successful. So on that note, we just want to just thank you for just, I guess, to me, you've always been involved in the community, man. Always giving back. You have a lot of people who do well, who never want to stay, but it seems like we have a lot of people in East New York who have done well and just want to stay and just see the community grow. So I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, and good luck in the race. And how can people reach out to you to support you throughout? What can they do? Tell our
Well,
listeners what can they do.
they can go to www.voteforchrisbanks.com, and you can, if you want to support, make a donation, or if you just want to be educated, because we love an informed voter, and I think once the voters are more informed, they can see through they can support a vision, the vision that I have laid out, which is a vision that was, it has evolved over the years to speaking to community residents who just want to live in decency, want respect, and just want to, live in a community that they can continue to call their home. And so they can go to my website and they can get all the information. They can support. All hands on deck. This is a all hands on deck campaign, and
Banks, right?
we're asking folks to bank on banks.
Thanks, thanks.
Those who have been banking on banks for since 2012, the bank ain't broke, and the bank is still working. And we're going to continue just to fight for the community. We're going to be the voice for the voiceless. And
hey, your brother, hey, brother, don't be like no Silicon Valley Bank now, brother, man. Make sure. You know what I'm saying?
No, we ain't no.
All right.
We're East New York Bank.
All right.
That means we know how to survive.
All right.
Just real. When is the election? Just real fast. You didn't state that.
Important to know.
The election is on June 27th.
All right.
And you can come on out and vote. There's going to be early voting. I forget when early voting starts, but it normally starts 10 days before the election date, and that's normally on a Sunday. I think it's the 7th, maybe the 17th.
The 7th. Yeah.
Maybe the 17th. But
probably
Board of Elections will definitely be sending out mailings to let folks know, and we'll also have information that's going to go out throughout the entire district to let folks know when early voting starts.
The 18th, June 18th. Is
June
that
18th?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Michael said it's on the 17th.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Chris. This has been great having you out here to talk to us about your campaign, your vision for Councilman District 42.
Thank
election
you.
coming up June 23rd, right? June 23rd, 2020.
No, June 27th.
June 27, 2023.
Early voting.
Early voting start June 17th. Look
All
for
right.
vote chrisbanks.com, votechrisbanks.com for any support that you want to have. If you live in East New York, Remsen Village, parts of Canarsie, parts of Brownsville, Ocean Hill, he'll be coming over knocking at your door, asking you for your support. Strong on education, strong on housing, and strong on public safety, all the things that we need to improve the quality of life in the district. God bless. Please do enjoy. Go to the website and check out this young brother from Trinidad, from the Caribbean, one of the
Caribbean.
But he's, his parents, right? So he has good
First generation.
Right. So he has some good upbringing. So God bless and enjoy your Easter, and looking forward to hearing from you some more.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you. Have a good night. Bank on Banks.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Go Chris Banks. So just to inform everyone that there are a lot of things happening out there. Chris Banks, out there working. So this young man needs your support. So feel free to go out and support him for things that are needed.
A lot happened this week. Look at the police officer who got shot yesterday.
Yes,
Getting on.
in Queens.
Yes, I was talking to.
22 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy, and during dismissal time. So kudos to all the police officers who are walking around, providing safety, putting their life at risk. It is not taken for granted. So thank you so much for being
You know,
forefront.
It's glad to know that he's going to make it.
Yes.
Dr. Brown.
Yes.
There's a 20,000. This is what Chris was just talking about with public safety, John, where you have to have a combined community and the police working together. The police can't know that it's not safe out there for them to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what's the incentive? Plus, they get very terrible. They get very poor and terrible pay. Right? So this is one of the issues that are out there that we need to address. Baseball, the season has started.
Okay.
I don't know if my Yankees won today, but they were 4-2.
No, they were not playing at all. Both they were.
I thought they were playing the Orioles today.
They were supposed to play, but they postponed
The
both
rain.
games.
Supposed to be
Because of rain?
the massive rain and no rain.
And no rain, right? Because it didn't rain all day. Okay, I was at the doctor's. I didn't know.
Interesting. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. filed papers to run for president. What are your thoughts?
As a Democrat?
Yes.
Run against Biden?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When did he file?
Yesterday. Either yesterday or today.
That's the answer.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
a lot's going on. Florida, your governor signed a bill to carry concealed weapon without a permit. So all those going to Florida, good luck to you.
I really
I keep telling everybody, villagers, listen, please
get your gun.
Get your gun.
I think they
Apply for your license.
They need to have a
Get
federal law, just like with gay marriages, right? That has a federal law that says another state has to recognize it.
But it does not. It does not. It will not.
I wish it would.
Villagers,
We're not going to agree with Dr. Bryan.
Get your guns.
Get your gun.
Get your gun permits.
We don't agree with Dr. Bryan.
Yeah.
Get your gun.
And you'll see
Wait.
how
Are
fast
you saying get your gun or get permits?
get permits. Get your
Because
permits.
we already have a lot of guns on the street.
I understand. But
Illegal.
get your permits.
Right. Get legal guns.
Let me tell you something. Y'all, I'm telling our listeners and those who listen in other states, please get the permit to carry, and you will see how fast the legislation changes.
Not only that, you see how fast. I strongly believe that the murder rates will go down.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Well, the only thing that I'm going to say is that I don't believe that you should not have the ability to carry guns. I believe that you need to make the people with mental health issues and prove
like
it.
that woman who shot and killed those 6 people in Tennessee.
Or in Texas, what happened? Was it Texas or
legal gun she had?
She had mental health issues.
Mental health issues.
She had mental health issues. Oh, you're talking about the school shooting?
Yeah, school shooting.
There was another school shooting, I think, in Texas, where 3 people got shot.
But if you see listeners who are doing these school shootings, however, when there is legislation enacted, it seems to always be centered around minority population all the time. They want tougher this, they want tougher that. It always has an impact upon the people of minority descent in our community, or minorities in our communities. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of.
Well, this is great. We're talking about policing, and Mayor Adams.
The money, right?
Yeah, signed an 8-year agreement.
That's something big.
You know what the percentage is?
No, I don't know what the
I
percentage
think it's
is.
4%.
But one thing I can say, listeners, everybody talks about crime and the ups and downs, but I can tell you, those who are committing crime, they are being captured within a very, very quick amount of time, and it just shows you that the level of involvement that the officers are having, and kudos to the mayor and the whole issue of really stamping his approval of public safety, because he's right. Public safety is the prerequisite to prosperity in our communities. If people feel safe, people want to come, people want to spend money, and people want to come back to New York.
Well, be
On that
safe
note-
out here this weekend.
On that note, happy Resurrection Sunday, Good Friday tomorrow.
Enjoy. Remember the car festival is out there. If you want to go it started actually today. It's Friday.
Yeah, the festival will be at,
Andre said, we out.
just a couple of reminders. The Grace Family Adult Daycare will be opening up right here at 1330 Utica Avenue, where we'll be having not orientation, but an open house in the first week of May, the last week in April. To come out and look 1330 Utica Avenue, you can call 646-504-5778 for support. Again, the Grace Family Adult Social Daycare, for you have a senior living at home, you don't want them to be lonely, especially in a time of mental health. Come out and support the extravaganza, right? It's an extravaganza, that's egg. Put the egg there instead. Will be, I believe, a patty call. Please contact the Councilmember Farron Lewis's office for additional support. And on April 15th, there will be the youth summit at the old Winthrop Junior High School, 905 Winthrop. According to Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman. And lastly, if you own a business, right? If you own a business, there will be on April 10th at Brooklyn College, 2700 Campus Road. You will have MWBE training for anybody who has a business and want to come out and get more. There's a $141 million project that's going up, of which $40 million is set aside for Black and Brown owned businesses. Everyone, please enjoy your Easter. Happy Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Resurrection Sunday. All of that coming up. God bless.
And
Have
be
a
safe.
great weekend where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today, where success is not just spoken, it is done.
Bless up.
Bless up and enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.
You want to wait?